Hi and welcome to an international visit through the world. In this video I'm going to take you on a directed excursion all over the planet, conversing with you about certain questions, peculiarities, intricacies, or simply a few things that are great to know about in this convoluted planet we live on. A portion of the things I'll discuss, I as of now have whole recordings on, in the event that you need a more profound comprehension. We'll begin at the focal point of the world, the superb meridian, which goes through Greenwich, Britain. This is on the grounds that is where the English designed time in 1884. Here we have two autonomous nations, the unified realm of extraordinary England and Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland. The nation of Ireland involves the greater part of the island of Ireland, while the northern part, called Northern Ireland, is one of the four constituent nations of the unified realm. Northern Ireland doesn't actually have an official banner on the grounds that its populace doesn't precisely settle on whether they ought to remain English or join with the remainder of Ireland. The other three constituent nations are imperfect. England and encompassing minor islands, Scotland, Britain, and Grains. Certain individuals utilize the expressions, extraordinary England, joined realm, and Britain, reciprocally. Yet, kindly don't. Us Scots truly don't see the value in it. Numerous Scots don't, truth be told, need to be important for the UK. Regardless of a fruitless mandate in 2014, there's as yet a very sizable freedom development. Significantly more so since Brexit. So recollect, extraordinary England. An island, the UK. A free nation comprised of four non-autonomous nations, and Britain, one of those four nations. Gracious, and there's additionally the Isle of Man, Jersey, and Guernsey, which are English, yet not part of the UK for reasons unknown. They're alluded to as crown conditions. Alright, we truly need to continue on, parcels to cover. Assuming we go into the frigid north, we track down the Faroe Islands, and Greenland. Two places that you wouldn't think share a lot of practically speaking, yet they do. They're both Danish. They're both independent regions of Denmark. Also, in spite of the huge distinction in size between the two, they really both have a comparative populace of around 50,000. Obviously, Greenland is one of the least thickly populated areas of the planet. The island is in a real sense three-quarters ice. Presently moving onto land with a more friendly environment, Central Area Europe. First thing to talk about is presumably the European Association, a financial and political association of 27 European states. It used to be 28, however, you know, Brexit. The EU has what's designated the Schengen region, an area of free travel, where taking an interest nations have abrogated line controls. Not all individuals from the EU are part of this area, and furthermore some non-EU individuals are. Same with the Eurozone, a financial association, in which all nations utilize a common money, the euro. 19 of the 27 individuals are essential for the Eurozone. 4 nations have concurrences with the EU to authoritatively utilize the euro notwithstanding not being essential for the EU, and afterward 2 others simply kind of concluded that they needed it as well, with next to no understanding set up. Presently, given the amount Europeans cherished vanquishing the world for years and years, there are bounty of parts of European nations, beyond Europe. Like the huge piece of France in South America, or more modest islands off the shoreline of Madagascar. Obviously, I will not be capable to cover them all. Simply a speedy notice about the Vatican City, which is viewed as a country, the littlest on the planet, totally encompassed by Italy, however isn't an individual from the unified countries, in spite of the fact that it is an onlooker state. Okay, to Spain next. This locale here is referred to Catalonia, it's one of the 17 as independent networks of Spain. Numerous Catalans have been battling for autonomy from Spain throughout the past 100 years, with things getting over the course of the past 10 years. Catalonia looked for authorization from Madrid to hold an autonomy mandate. Spain said no. Catalonia said, in any case, they'll do it. Spain said, stand by no, that is unlawful. In any case, they did it at any rate. The outcome was 92% for freedom, yet each and every individual who needed to remain part of Spain just boycotted the vote, so it doesn't actually count. The leader of Catalonia later pronounced autonomy, kind of, It was all exceptionally confounding. Furthermore, no one truly realizes what occurred. Catalonia is still important for Spain, however, and their previous president is right now living in self-inflicted exile in Belgium. On the southern shore of the Iberian landmass, there's Gibraltar, and a broad English domain, which was surrendered from Spain around a long time back. Also, directly across the Mediterranean, there are 2 or 3 pieces of Africa that are still important for Spain. Okay. What's straight away? Indeed, the Balkans. This is a piece of Europe where everybody despises one another. Likely the greatest disputed matter is oneself pronounced, to some extent perceived, territory of Kosovo. Or on the other hand the independent Serbian territory of Kosovo, contingent upon your perspective. The territory pronounced its freedom in 2008, after a conflict with Serbia a couple of years prior, in which Kosovo got military help from NATO. The number of inhabitants in Kosovo is predominantly Albanian. As well as this, there was likewise the almost 3-decade naming debate among Greece and North Macedonia, as it's presently called. Fundamentally, Macedonia is an enormous geographic locale, much of which is in Greece, and was named as such after the old Greek realm of Macedon. So Greece was excessively unsettled in 1991 when their neighbor announced autonomy from Yugoslavia as the Republic of Macedonia. Because of Greek complaints, the nation was alluded to as the previous Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia in discretionary associations like the UN. Later, 28 years, the craziness was at last finished and the nation was renamed the Republic of North Macedonia. In any case, I'm almost certain neither one of the sides was truly content with the result. What's more, the two of them actually disdain one another. On to Russia now. This is the Crimean promontory. It was attached by Russia from Ukraine in 2014. After a mandate of sketchy authenticity. It was just very of Ukraine for about 50 years, since it was moved to Ukraine while both were Soviet republics. Western state-run administrations and the UN don't perceive the addition, regardless think about the landmass, to be essential for Ukraine. However, nothing has really been finished about it. Another piece of Russia that is great to know about, is this little exclave here called the Kaliningrad Oblast. It was initially important for the German territory of Prussia, yet entirely the Soviet Association guaranteed it after the partners' triumph in World War II, and afterward after the fall of the Soviet Association it turned out to be totally cut off from the remainder of Russia. Presently venturing out to Russia's southern line with Georgia. Georgia has a to some degree problematic political circumstance, as it has not one, however 2 pieces of the country that have proclaimed their freedom: Abkhazia and South Ossetia. The 2 states have command over the regions they guarantee, but they particularly need global acknowledgement. The 2 states announced their autonomy during the 1990s with sponsorship from Russia. There was even a short conflict over the question among Georgia and Russia in 2008. No awards for think about how that turned out. Next we'll go on an outing down to the Mediterranean, to the delightful summer escape of Cyprus. The political circumstance here, however, is a piece terrible. The island is at present partitioned between the nation of Cyprus and the unnoticed Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. There's an UN cradle zone isolating the 2 political elements that was laid out after the between ethnic savagery between the Greeks and the Turks of the island ejected during the 1960s, in no time after Cyprus became autonomous from the UK. There was a Greek upset, trailed by Turkish attack, and everything got exceptionally muddled. Gracious, and there's additionally a few English bases on the island. I surmise the essential area was simply too significant to even think about surrendering. Moving further south and onto Africa. Presumably the most observable international debate in Africa is a region known as Western Sahara. The locale is asserted, and for the most part controlled, by Morocco. In any case, the locale has likewise been announced as the autonomous nation of the Sahrawi Middle Easterner vote-based republic, by the native agitator bunch the Polisario Front, what began off by battling contrary to Spanish pilgrim rule during the 1970s. In 1976, Spain simply kind of noped out of the entire circumstance, and split the locale between Morocco and another adjoining nation, Mauritania, who likewise guaranteed the district at the time. Be that as it may, not any longer. On the contrary shore of Africa, we have Somaliland. Once more, which is a question brought about by the Europeans. Somaliland was constrained by the English, while the remainder of what is today the nation of Somalia was constrained by Italy. In 1960, the two were joined to make a new, free country. Somaliland pronounced freedom in 1991, and a nationwide conflict has been continuous from that point forward. Presently moving on to the center, A is gracious. Murmur. For what reason am I doing this? Okay, so it is plainly difficult to give any sort of clarification of what the damnation is happening here in only 2 or 3 minutes. So remember, all that I say here will be way distorted. Before the start of the at present continuous circumstance, this region was called Palestine. What's more, was under English organization. In 1948, the unified countries passed a goal to segment the land among Jewish and Middle Easterner people group. The relatives of these Middle Easterner networks, around here and in displaced person camps close by, are what we today call Palestinians. After the goal was passed, the province of Israel was proclaimed. This prompted the first of a few conflicts with its neighbor, wherein Israel was in many cases battling against most, or every one, of them without a moment's delay. Domain in this area has returned and forward between various nations and associations. Presently, as well as Israel, we likewise have the province of Palestine, proclaimed in 1988, which is a to some degree perceived state, with spectator status at the assembled countries. Its asserted domain is the West Bank, wherein an in-between time division understanding was reached with Israel during the 90s, as well as the Gaza Strip, which has really been constrained by Hamas since 2007, a Palestinian ideological group, and differently depicted as a psychological oppressor association. Things are significantly more muddled in Jerusalem, an old city with significant importance to Jews, Muslims, and Christians. This city is completely constrained by Israel, however guaranteed by the two gatherings as their capital, however with various pieces of the city being guaranteed by each gathering. On top of this, there's always the issue of Israeli settlements, which we don't have time to get into, and I'd truly prefer to continue on now, please. Remaining in the Center East, there's what is going on in Syria, in which an overwhelming multi-sided nationwide conflict has been continuous for almost 10 years now. This started with a series of hostile to government fights, some portion of the more extensive development known as the Middle Easterner Spring, which were savagely stifled. The contention is one of the bloodiest of the 21st years, and has gushed out over to a few adjoining nations. There's additionally the circumstance in Iraq. There is as yet progressing struggle that originated from the U.S. drove attack in 2003 to overturn the public authority of Saddam Hussein. With ISIS having generally lost their domain in Iraq, the viciousness has gone on as an uprising, including a few radical gatherings. ISIS was crushed in the nationwide conflict with assistance from the Kurds, a particular ethnic gathering in northern Iraq that is looking for freedom. Individuals predominantly casted a ballot for freedom, yet the Iraqi government considered the mandate unlawful. Okay, we should move east of the Center East and onto the Indian subcontinent, where we track down the contested area of Jammu and Kashmir. Fundamentally, this region was a royal state of India while under English control, and in 1947 when India was isolated into India. Furthermore, Pakistan, conflicts about which country to join caused struggle, and a true segment of the locale that stays unsettled right up till now. Around here, there's likewise a few regional debates among India and China along their broad line, which are all controlled by China. Also, discussing China, there's a lot here to discuss, as well. We have Tibet, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and likely considerably more that we lack the capacity to deal with. Thus, Tibet. Tibet is an independent district of Individuals Republic of China. The Tibetan individuals are ethnically unmistakable from the Han Chinese larger part, however the region has been under Chinese control for a considerable length of time. Notwithstanding, when majestic rule in China reached end with the fall of the Qing line in 1912, Tibet encountered years and years of accepted autonomy. This is when China turned into a republic. Interestingly, be that as it may, when a nationwide conflict broke out, Between the public authority and a socialist defiance, the socialists won, and broadcasted individuals. Republic of China. The new socialist government added Tibet in 1951, though with obstruction from Tibet's major areas of strength for 8,000. Presently, that nationwide conflict that was won by the socialists, the terrible side, the Republic of China, didn't simply vanish. This carries us to our next stop, Taiwan, as a matter of fact. This is where the conservative, patriot government escaped to in 1949. While this nation is ordinarily alluded to as Taiwan, its name is really unaltered right up till now, the Republic of China. China actually sees Taiwan as a feature of its domain, in spite of individuals republic won't ever have any purview over the island in their set of experiences. Taiwan has its own administration, president, military, and so forth and so on, and is very much like some other country in many ways. Be that as it may, considering how strong China is, formally recognizing Taiwan implies China cutting all ties, both strategic, also, more significantly, monetary. Taiwan isn't an individual from the UN, yet a lot of nations have informal relations with Taipei. There's likewise Hong Kong, which is important for China, however has an exceptional regulatory status. Under the purported One China, Two Frameworks strategy, mass fights occurred all through quite a bit of 2019 when a disputable removal bill was proposed. Indeed, even after the bill was removed, fights went on for full vote-based system, with a rundown of 5 requests. Dissidents were frequently liable to police fierceness and capture. Hong Kong used to be English until 1997, when it was moved back to China, with a 50-year arrangement that Hong Kong wouldn't be dependent upon Central Area China's financial framework. In a real sense, nobody understands what will occur in 2047 when this arrangement lapses. Close by, there's likewise North and South Korea. Korea had been attached by Japan in 1910, yet then with the Japanese loss in World War II, the promontory was to be briefly isolated. The Soviet Association controlled the North, and the US the South, with the arrangement to bind together Korea into one country. Then the virus war occurred, and out of nowhere the two nations controlling Korea loathed one another, and were less able to participate. There was a 3-year war which didn't actually achieve much with the exception of gigantic losses on the two sides. North Korea is the most disengaged country on the planet, with its populace unfit to leave. What's more, with little information outwardly world. North Korea has atomic weapons, however, thus the absence of mediation somewhere else in Asia to know about. There's a country that no one truly knows what to call it, Burma or Myanmar. Furthermore, there's additionally the South China Ocean, which is the most questioned piece of the whole planet. Guaranteed by like 40 nations of something. Most likely. What would be the best next step? We can presumably skirt Australia and all that down. They're pretty chill, not a lot to discuss. We should, all things considered, go all the way across the Pacific Sea, which is for the most part void with the exception of Hawaii, which is important for the US, however has an association jack on its banner for reasons unknown. So presently we're in the Americas. North and South America. Albeit certain individuals, particularly from Latin America, allude to them as one landmass. America, solitary. Be that as it may, English speakers for the most part utilize this word to allude to the country, the US. There's bounty happening in the Caribbean. There are 13 autonomous countries, the greater part of which nobody has known about, as well as European provinces and domains, and furthermore, an irregular piece of Colombia. However, cool banner. Goodness, and Puerto Rico, that needs to clumsily add a 51st star to the American banner. An especially unconventional case is with a lot of Dutch islands, Aruba, Curaçao, and Sint Maarten, which are really nations inside the realm of the Netherlands, making up 4 constituent nations, alongside the actual Netherlands. To some degree like the UK. However, at that point, inside the constituent nation of the Netherlands, there are 3 more Caribbean islands, Bonaire, Saint Eustatius, and Saba. Here is a Venn chart to take care of you. Somewhere else in the Americas, there's the Falkland Islands. English islands with English individuals, who collectively casted a ballot to stay in English domain, Yet for reasons unknown Argentina claims them as their own. They even battled a short conflict in 1982 when Argentina attacked the islands. However, this just happened on the grounds that a despot was attempting to occupy his kin. From the nation's weak economy, we should see, what else? Indeed, there's Antarctica, which is for the most part ice and snow. However, hello. It's territory, so nations will attempt to put a banner in it and guarantee it as their own. Since presently, why not? There are different cases to the landmass, some of which cross over, as well as some unclaimed land. However, it's all generally superfluous on account of the Antarctic deal. This deal has suspended every single new case, ensures opportunity for logical investigation, and a boycott of all tactical action. Some of the time when we take a gander at the world, the lines on a guide don't completely do equity to the circumstance. On the ground, you frequently need to look past the lines and see what lies underneath. International affairs.